Daniel had always believed attraction was about looks, status, or confidence. He had spent years trying to improve himself in all the traditional ways, hitting the gym, upgrading his wardrobe, learning clever conversation starters. But nothing seemed to change. Some men had it, and some didn't. That's what he told himself. But then there was Mark. Mark wasn't particularly tall, muscular, or wealthy. He didn't have a six-figure job or a luxury car. In fact, if you saw him in a crowd, he was just another average guy. Yet women were drawn to him in a way that defied logic. It wasn't just casual attention. Mark had a presence that made women gravitate toward him, stay in his orbit, and never want to leave. One night, after watching Mark effortlessly capture the interest of yet another stunning woman at a bar, Daniel finally confronted him. "All right, man, enough games. What is it? What's the secret?" Mark smirked, finishing his drink before leaning in. "You really want to know?" "Obviously," Daniel scoffed. "I've been watching you for years. It's not luck. It's not money. It's not looks. So what the hell is it?" Mark chuckled, as if he had been waiting for this conversation. "The truth, Danny? It's simple. Most men think attraction is about what they show. It's actually about what they see." Daniel frowned. "What does that even mean?" Mark leaned back, stretching his arms out as if settling in for a long story. Most guys try to impress women. They talk about themselves, show off, try to be funny, try to be charming. They think attraction is about being the most interesting man in the room. But the reality? It's about making her feel like the most interesting woman in the room. Daniel shook his head. "That sounds like some vague self-help nonsense." Mark laughed. "Maybe. But let me ask you, when you talk to a woman, are you really listening, or are you just waiting for your turn to speak?" Daniel hesitated. "I mean, I listen." Mark raised an eyebrow. "Do you? Do you remember the little details? The things she doesn't even realize she's revealing about herself? Her favorite drink? The way her eyes light up when she talks about something she loves? The subtle shift in her voice when she's nervous? The tiny tells that show who she really is?" Daniel was silent. Mark continued. "Most guys never notice these things. They're too busy trying to be seen instead of seeing her. But when you do, when you notice her in a way that no one else has, that's when she can't resist you. Not because you tricked her, not because you played some mind game, but because, for the first time in a long time, she feels truly understood." Daniel let the words sink in. He wanted to dismiss it, but as he replayed past conversations in his head, he realized Mark had a point. He had always tried so hard to be impressive, but he had never really tried to make a woman feel impressive. "All right," Daniel finally said. "Let's say I believe you. How do I actually do it?" Mark smiled. "Start small. Next time you talk to a woman, don't think about what you're going to say next. Just focus on her. Notice things no one else does. And then, remember them. Bring them up later, not in a creepy way, but in a way that shows you actually see her." It sounded too simple, but Daniel decided to try it. The next weekend, at a coffee shop, he struck up a conversation with a woman waiting in line. Instead of cracking a joke or trying to be witty, he paid attention. She ordered a chai latte with oat milk, tapping her nails on the counter as she waited. She mentioned, almost offhandedly, that she had just come from a pottery class. Most guys would have moved on to another topic, but Daniel tucked that detail away. Later, when they bumped into each other again, he smiled and said, "So, how was the pottery class? Did you finally get the shape right?" Her eyes widened in surprise. Then she smiled. "You remembered that?" From that moment, the conversation flowed effortlessly. She opened up more. She leaned in closer. She laughed more freely. It was working. Over the next few months, Daniel kept testing Mark's theory. It wasn't a trick. It wasn't about pretending to care. It was about actually caring. Every time he focused on making a woman feel seen, the results were the same. They stayed engaged, drawn to him, without fully understanding why. One night, he met Mark again and raised his glass. "All right, I admit it. You were right." Mark just grinned. Told you. 95.7%, my friend. It's not magic. It's just the truth most men never learn.